Hello. Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming tonight for the book launch for our winner of our third annual Catamaran Poetry Prize for West Coast Poets. The winner is Alison Luterman, and she will be reading and discussing her prize-winning book, In the Time of Great Fires, with our prize judge, Zack Rogow. My name is Catherine Segerson, and I am the founder and editor of Catamaran, the literary journal, and the prize is also a program of Catamaran. And here we are together on Crowdcast. I see 90 people, so that's wonderful. And thank you all for coming and supporting Alison and her poetry. So Crowdcast is great in some ways because people can attend from all over. But I do miss our prize gala we had for the last 2 years on the top of the Salesforce Tower in San Francisco. And it was so wonderful for all of us to be together in person. But we're still celebrating tonight, and many of you who wouldn't have been able to come to San Francisco are here with us, so it's going to be really great. A few things about Crowdcast. Just relax. We can't see you or hear you, so you don't have to worry about your own audio and video, but you can interact throughout the event on the chat on the side here. You can comment on the poems, say something to Alison, let us know where you're coming from, what city you're in. So that will be open all throughout the event. At the end of the event, we're going to have a Q&A. And so there's a ask a question button down at the bottom there. You can input your question. You can input that question anytime. And then at the end, we'll read Alison your questions and we'll have a little Q&A. There's also a little buy the book button right here at the bottom. And if you click that at any time during the event, you can order Alison's beautiful poetry book. So once again, this book is the winner of the 2020 Catamaran Poetry Prize for West Coast Poets. The Catamaran Poetry Prize is open to all West Coast poets living in the states of California, Alaska, Hawaii, Oregon, and Washington. The prize is open to submissions from November to April. The judge for the 2020 Catamaran Poetry Prize was Zack Rogow. He is a Catamaran contributing editor. He is the author, editor, or translator of more than 20 books or plays, and his most recent book of poems, Irreverent Litanies, was published by Regal House. Alison Luterman, she lives in Oakland, California. Her books include the poetry collections Desire Zoo, The Largest Possible Life, and See How We Almost Fly. And she also has published a collection of essays, Feral City. Her writings have been published in The Sun, The New York Times, The Boston Phoenix, Rattle, The Brooklyn Review, Oberon, and other journals and anthologies. Alison has taught at the Writing Salon in Berkeley, Esalen Institute, and the Omega Institute. And recently this summer, a poem from this collection titled Some Girls was featured in the New York Times Magazine, selected by Naomi Shihab Nye. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to welcome onto the screen Alison and Zack. Okay. There? This? Yep. No. How do I get his mic? No, his mic isn't on.
Excited to be here to celebrate the publication of In the Time of Great Fires, which is just a beautiful looking book too. It has an incredible cover by Jan Heffernan, and there's Alison. And I'm very honored to have been chosen to select this. So thank you to Catherine and the Catamaran literary reader community for that opportunity. And so I'm really pleased to be here to speak with Alison. And Alison, I know that you've written several books of poetry, and I was wondering what was different about this book for you? What kinds of concerns or memories, either personal or global, are threaded in this book that are new to you as a writer?
Well, I never published the pandemic is the first thought that comes to my mind. That happened late in the book's life. This book started life as the seed of the idea was, I had an idea about the divine feminine and that I was going to go in quest of it. And, you know how you need an idea to kind of get you into a project, but then once you're in the project, it changes. So that was the idea that got me in years ago. And then, I also started learning more about gender, and I realized that the feminine was maybe an outdated concept a little bit, although I'm still attached to it. But my ideas about gender kind of expanded and morphed. And the current political situation kept, everything has been molten, for the last, I don't remember how long it's been now since we've been in this bardo of craziness. So I think all of those things, changed the book as it went along.
I also noticed that there are a number of memory poems in this book where you're kind of going back either into your family history or your own personal history and kind of bringing yourself up to date in a way with what happened in either in your life or in previous generations. I'm wondering if you would read the poem Canoe, which is one of those poems where you kind of go into your past and bring yourself into the present.
Yeah, I was just talking with a very old friend today. She's not so old, but I've known her since we were 13 or 14, and we were talking about this poem, and I told her it took me years to get this. It's not a long poem, but it took years to get the ending because, and it is a memory poem. It's an old memory. Canoe. When I was young, years ago, canoeing on the green, green river with my young first husband, I wriggled out of my shorts, eased over the lip of our little boat, and became Eel Woman, naked and glistening, borne along on the current. He paddled, I floated and whirled and let the ripples take me. Even an hour of that kind of freedom can last for years and years, can become a touchstone you return to long after the rented canoe has been returned and the road trip has ended, and then the marriage, and then the husband's brief life. And you yourself have become someone else entirely. Still, you return in your mind to the days you could set up a tent in the dark and build a small fire from birch bark and newspaper and sit beside it, savoring your muscles' sweet ache as one by one the uncountable stars came out.
So that was one of the poems when I read this manuscript that convinced me that this was the manuscript to pick for this prize, because it just wowed me, this poem. And I'm wondering about the Eel Woman. You talked about the divine feminine. Eel was such an unexpected word there to describe yourself as a young woman.
Yeah.
Where did that word come from, or how do you feel about the Eel Woman?
Well, I'm doing this. I was in the water and I was just letting the current take me like a creature, like an eel. Hi, Zach. Is there? So anyway, that's what happened. And I don't know where Zach went. Hi. Did your headset die? Hi.
Hi there. I'm sorry, I had to deal with a technical issue. We had a little bit of an echo. So, well, everyone else got to hear your answer, but I missed it. But
I don't know. How it was just the wildness of animals and eels, and I don't know where it came from, honestly. But that was there in the early drafts. It was the ending that gave me more trouble.
And the thing about this poem that kind of amazed me was that, it has this very deep sense of loss. There are all these layers of your life in a way, this camping trip, the marriage, the early marriage that's over, and yet I don't feel like the ultimate sense of the poem is loss. I feel like somehow the ultimate sense of the poem is fullness in an odd way.
I'm glad that that's how it feels to you. And yeah, I mean, there is loss, but I'm also really lucky that I got to have that experience. And I mean, I think that's, I'm older now, so I think the losses get digested and they come up again as hopefully compost and as richness. After you've kind of suffered through the pain of them, then you find something beautiful growing out of them.
I have to do one more thing to try to eliminate this echo. Can you hold on 1 second?
Yeah, I'm so sorry that you're having that. I feel like I should be entertaining everybody, but I don't know what to say. Yeah, I know. My sister just said it seems like whenever Zack talks, there's background. Doing the technical on this stuff is very challenging.
Are we still getting this echo? Are we still getting the echo?
You sound fine to me. I don't know how it is for other people. Yeah, Annie says, how about reading another poem? So, are we ready to go or?
Sure. Yes, I'd love to hear another poem. Yes.
Okay, I'm going to read "The Tulips Become More Wanton as They Ripen." This was a poem a dear friend of mine brought tulips as a gift to a Passover Seder that I hosted, and afterwards I just put them on my desk and watched them go through their life cycle. The tulips become more wanton as they ripen. When Leslie first gave me the tulips, they were clustered together and closed up demurely like girls who have been told not to sit with their legs splayed. But 3, 4, 6 days in the vase and they're all outflung, like a woman who's come home from work, popped open a beer and slung herself over the lip of the sofa. The prim yellow one's edges are curling outward like tongues, and the red and cream parasol-striped courtesans have gone further than that, exposing their open throats with the hairy black pistils as they yodel yoo-hoo to the honeybee. Isn't this just like the women I know, who with the years become less afraid of showing our want, our woe, our ever-widening courage? Again,
So, I've always loved the way that tulips move so much and grow so much, even when they're in a vase. And I think you've captured that so beautifully, but you've added so much to that by making the tulip a metaphor for women in their strength. I guess it would be one way to put it. When did this come to you? Like, what was the origin of this poem? How did that Tulip Woman connection happen?
God, I wish I knew. I wish I knew it. Probably I was thinking about the primness of them closed and then, they open and then they're like all the way open and they're showing everything. And I mean, flowers are erotic. I'm not the first person at all to have noticed that. And, George O'Keeffe did a good job with that many years ago. But I kind of was tracing that life cycle the way as a girl, you're more shy and, you're told to behave yourself. And then when women get to a certain age, they're like, screw that. So I think it happens in the process of writing the poem. I think I don't really know at the beginning. And then it's one of those things that happens as you go.
So the other thing is there's so much sensuality in this poem. but it's through the tulip somehow. And you know, I always feel like poetry is sort of a system of codes, and you've created a kind of code here where the tulips become a sort of cipher for women and their life cycles. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can't see you though.
Oh, I'm totally here. I mean, I can see myself.
Oh,
I'm so sorry.
maybe refresh. Try refreshing.
Me?
Yes.
Just smile.
Hi, Zach. Zach?
Yes.
Yes.
So she didn't need to sign off. We could all see her.
Oh, okay. I can't see. I can't see you.
Okay, well, she'll be right back.
I'm here.
Here she goes.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
All right, so if that happens again, just keep going because I can see her.
Yeah, I could tell.
And, yeah, so I'll know if she goes off.
Yeah.
Catherine, can you carry on for a minute? I'm trying to eliminate the echo, okay?
All righty.
Okay.
So it sounds like maybe I should.
All right, so Zach was echoing, and we're going to try to fix that. So Alison, can we just invite you to read another poem?
Yes, I will. Happily. Okay. I'm gonna read. Am I, by the way?
We can see you, yeah.
Okay, and
yeah.
I'm echoing to myself, but am I echoing to you?
No?
Okay. This is called Lucy at 11. It's a poem I wrote for my niece. She's now 16, 17. But when she was 11, this is her. Lucy at 11. This is the summer before everything turns, when it can still take the better part of an afternoon to line up all 17 bottles of nail polish and paint everyone's fingers and toes the exact iridescence of abalone and new pennies. First she was a monkey, and then she was a cat, then a bear, then a butterfly, then royalty in disguise. Now she is all of those things, which is why lilacs bend their freighted heads and bees pause in their buzzy busyness. When with a dish of ice cream over the tickly grass she tiptoes, then mounts the rope swing under the tree to pump her lengthening legs against gravity toward what's rising in her. Blood, beauty, breakage, swinging fiercely between this world and the next. And that's for all the adolescent girls, all the young girls, and their beauty and their strength. Oh, I forgot to read Some Girls, and I would like to read that one, maybe as kind of a follow-up to that, because of course, so girls don't stay 11 forever. And then I've been really inspired, you know, Zach was asking me about what's different about this book of poems. I don't think it is really that, I mean, I think I'm always just in the moment with whatever's going on, but I've noticed over the last few years the rise in young, very young female leadership. I mean, Greta Thunberg and, oh God, I can't remember everybody's name, but Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and all these young women who have just been rising up and speaking out. So this poem is for all of them and for my two beautiful nieces and for my beautiful goddaughter. We're all very young women who are fierce. Some girls can't help it. They are lit sparklers, hot-blooded, half naked in the depths of winter, tagging moving trains with the bright insignia of their fury. I've seen their inked torsos, falcons, swans, meteor showers, and shadowed their secret rendezvous, walking and flying all night over paths traced like veins through the deep body of the forest, where they are trying on their new wings, rising to power with a ferocious mercy not seen before in the cities of men. Having survived slander, abuse, and every kind of exile, they're swooping down even now from treetops where they were roosting, wearing robes woven of spider webs and pigeon feathers. They have pulled the living child out of the flames and are prepared to take charge through the coming apocalypse. I've learned that some girls are boys, some are birds, some are oases ringed with stalking lions. See, I cannot even name them, although one of them is looking out through my eyes right now. One of them is writing all this down with light-struck fingers. And thank you. I'm wondering if
Thank you, Alison. I
is
think,
that
yeah, Zack is here,
Yeah.
so let's bring Zack back on to comment.
Okay, great.
Hi, I was exiled there for a moment to Zoom, Zoom Purgatorio or something. I don't know.
No.
But,
I told you Mercury is retrograde right now. This is like, that's what it is.
I think there's even still an echo. But I wanted to ask you about the phrase in that last poem that the girls are rising to power with a ferocious mercy. I thought that was so interesting. How did you put those two words together, which you normally wouldn't associate?
I mean, that's how it seems to me. These girls that I'm seeing are fierce, but they have deep, deep compassion. I mean, I know they're two words we wouldn't put together normally, but it's a kind of, again, I guess it's that deep feminine, the mama lion that is protecting, the world. They're world protectors. And so, yeah, I wouldn't want to mess with them, but I feel like it is ultimately out of mercy, that they're doing this. It's not selfish. It's not selfish aggression.
It's interesting that the images of the feminine are not always, they're not the pretty Disney feminine.
Oh no, I'm not interested in that feminine. I'm not. That is not the feminine I am talking about. I am not interested in that. I'm interested in feminine, like Kali and all that.
You have woven of spider webs and pigeon feathers.
Yeah.
It's a much more witchy kind of feminine.
It's witchy, exactly. And I've been on a kind of, there's a witch poem in the book, and I've been on a bit of a witch kick for a while, researching witches. And yeah, I feel like, witches were the first, naturopaths, herbalists. I mean, they were people who studied natural medicines and knew kind of the deep ways of the forest and all that. So, yeah.
The other thing about this book that strikes me a lot, Alison, is that you're looking into the future very bravely. You talk about how these girls are prepared to take charge through the coming apocalypse, and it seems like you're not flinching at that apocalypse. I don't know if you're welcoming it. Are you welcoming it?
I'm flinching, actually. I know that we're at a critical point and things are changing and have to change, and we're at a breaking point. And I think anybody who has something to lose is, like most of us do, is flinching a bit at the thought. There's loss, we're seeing a lot of loss. But there's also something new being born at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So something's getting broken. A lot of things are getting broken and have been broken. But I feel like, I mean, I don't know. I want the world to go on. You know, there are young people in my life whom I love very much, and I want the world to be there for them. And I know that something is being born right now. I don't know exactly what it is, and I probably won't live to see how it, you know, spins out. I won't, but I welcome what's good about it with hope. And I hope.
I'm hearing from people that they're having problems with the audio, and I
Are they
apologize
having
for
trouble
that.
hearing me? Do they want me to? Should I refresh again, or can people hear me? I'm not. Should I look in the chat?
I'm not sure, but I'm sorry that people are having problems with the audio. But, thank you for your patience for the people who are fighting through that. So okay, Alison, have we talked yet about the title poem of the collection?
I'm sorry. Can you
have we
say
talked yet about the title poem of the
Oh, the
collection?
title poem. I don't think I've read that one yet. Did I? I don't. In the Time of Great Fires. What do you want to? You want me to say something about that?
Could you read it? I would love to hear you read it.
Yes, I would love to read it. Yeah, this is. I mean, we had the apocalypse last month, or was it September when the skies turned orange? But this poem was actually written a couple of years ago in 2017, I think, when we had that smoke for a couple of weeks, and we were wearing masks then, but it was before the pandemic. We were wearing the N95s because of all the smoke. And this is called "I Lived in the Time of Great Fires." On my way home from buying breathing masks at the medical supplies store, I stop at Goodwill because it calms me to walk slowly up and down the rows, fingering rayon and cotton, silk and wool. Sky outside is white with some gray and brown mixed in, like marled yarn for a sweater no one wants to wear. I have my new air filter mask over my face, which makes me look like a frowsy, anxious bank robber who's just stopped off to hunt for bargains on her way to a grand heist, which is how I feel about human life here on Earth today. We are pulling it out of the cash box at gunpoint. The Arctic ice shelf breaking and melting, the last polar bears, the last tigers, last years of livable climate, as if we were getting away with something we won't ever get away with. Once again, California's burning, and every thought begins and ends with fire. It's primal, the animal need to seek shelter, though all the grass is kindling now, kindling the trees, even the sky seems swallowed in flame. I'd say I lived in the time of great fires, but what time comes after this is what I want to know, and who will be around to name it.
I love the way that you've described the present so accurately in this. That sense that we're these masks are kind of like bank robber masks, and the sense that even the sky is flammable now. We're in such a delicate moment in terms of the balance of nature. But also this, as I said, this clear-sighted look into the future. What is the next era going to be? And that bravery really strikes me. Why do you think this somehow started with stopping at your local Goodwill, at your local thrift shop? Like, how does that figure into this moment of the Great Fires?
I feel like my audio is off. My audio is on. How does the stopping off at the Goodwill? Because that's literally what happened. I literally went to the mask store, and I think shopping. I know I hate to admit this, but it's kind of a comfort thing for me, you know. And when the smoke was there, I wanted comfort. I wanted to dive into something that felt familiar. And I do shop at the Goodwill. I think just fabric. I like fabric. So I just, it was literally true. And, you know, you've been asking me a lot of questions about how did you, you know, find this, and I wish I could answer better. I feel like it comes in the making of the poem, and it's an associative leap that happens. And the thing I do is just get out of the way. And I don't know how to, you know, it isn't like I conjure it. It's like more I associate and I just write down what, and then I weed out the ones that aren't as interesting and keep what seems the most fresh.
I think that's often how the poet's mind works, is that one thing is a kind of jumping point from one state of mind to another, and it's not always a rational transition. It's in fact, it's at its best, it's not.
Yeah.
So I see some interesting comments in the chat about thrift shops and shopping and how they represent a kind of comfort.
It's not like I don't need any more clothes. I really don't need any more clothes, but it's like I like to be around fabric. Feels comfortable, comforting. Yeah.
So maybe we'll read one more poem and then open it up for questions. I was hoping you would read the last poem in the book, which is a favorite of mine.
Thank you. I was practicing this morning and I choked myself up on this one, so I hope I get through it. It's called Morning Song. Morning, fire of purple princess blossoms, toddler pedaling furiously on a tricycle, and the man unlocking his fix-it shop on the corner with its hand-painted warning sign, "All my stuff is not worth your life." The last of winter's rain evaporates into fog, and dogwood sheds its fragrance, soft, delicious. I'm building my nest, like the chickadee, the yellow-rumped warbler, the dark-eyed junco, out of whatever's at hand. You, as it turns out, are clasped fingers and twinned gates. This terrifying tenderness, plus coffee, plus trillium and jasmine and pink fuzz of flowering peach. I'm scared to confess to happiness. I know the jealous fates in their dolorous heaven, how they love to feast on the heart. I know they've already marked the spot where one of us dies and the other stands open-mouthed and uncomprehending as dirt closes over our one song. But for just this moment, I want what I have. Love quickens the air. Witness that, oh yellow-bellied sapsucker, lazuli bunting, American robin.
It's such an unforgettable way to end the book. It's so specific, and yet it seems to resonate in so many different directions, both emotionally and philosophically, really. Again, you've used this incredible paradox. You talk about a dolorous heaven, the fates in their dolorous heaven. You know, we think of heaven as being, you know, the harps and the perfect harmonies and everything, but this is a dolorous, a sad heaven. I love that. That's just so unexpected.
Thank you.
There are many very personal poems in this collection as well, this being one of them. Do you want to say something about how you kind of blended the personal and the global in this collection?
Somebody mute? Yeah, there. To me, the personal, well, I mean, the personal is political. That's from the 70s, the feminist movement. But the only way I can care about the world is through the way I care about specific people and specific, I care about the world, I guess, in an abstract way. But, I love Oakland. I love the Oakland Hills. I love, the people that in my life that I love. I mean, I care about humanity, but as a writer and as a person, you get to the big stuff through the little stuff. I mean, that's how I do it.
Mhm.
To the specific.
So I'm hoping that those who are listening are going to ask some questions. I think I saw some questions, and now I don't see as many. So please feel free to ask questions to Alison, either about specific poems or the book as a whole or her career as a writer. We'd love to hear your thoughts as well. I see.
Annie Huldren asked, who organized the poems and named the book? Alison, interested in the flow. I can tell you that, I mostly organized it, but then once it was accepted, Zack suggested some changes and I went with them. I agonized over the title of this book. I put it out on Facebook more than once, like, what should I name this book? I tortured everybody close to me, all my close friends, my poor husband, what do I call the book, with this or that? Or, I at one point wanted to call it The Enemy of Poetry. I wanted to call it Some Girls after the Some Girls poem, but that wasn't specific enough. I think it was you, Zack, who said no, In the Time of Great Fires. I think you came up with the title. I'm pretty sure you did.
Well, it was already there in the collection. It's there is a title poem called "In the Time of Great Fires," and I love that title. And I thought, well, that really, in a way, applies to the whole book, because the whole book is written in this time of incredible pressures and yet enormous hopes. So that it felt like that fit the collection so well.
Yeah, thank you for pointing that out. And then my friend Karen asked, which is your favorite poem in the book? Oh man, Karen. I think in a way, Some Girls, the one that I just read, means a lot to me. I worked really hard on that one. And, it's different at different moments, because I also like the last poem in the book a lot. I kind of root for the underdog poems sometimes, the ones that I've had a hard time getting published. But those two that I read, and of course I love the one for Lucy, because it's Lucy, my niece. And I mean, I have sentimental attachments to different poems if they're about people I love or animals that I love. My husband, I can tell you, my husband's favorite poem in the book is Ode to Aspirin, and his other favorite poem in the book is The Enemy of Poetry. Those are his two favorites. They're a little more funny.
Let's see. I think there might be some other questions. Someone asked about the image on the cover. Maybe Catherine can answer that. Catherine, are you still with us? Well, I know that this artist, here she is, okay.
Hello. So the image on the cover is, and we're talking about this, for those of you. This is a painting by Julie Heffernan, and it's a 7-foot painting. It's absolutely beautiful. She, she calls it self-portrait as hothead. And Alison actually picked this because it was featured in our fall issue, and where we had featured a poem by Alison, and she picked this artist. I think she said, I'm a hothead too. And this, if you want to come see this painting, we have it on exhibit right now at the Blitzer Gallery in Santa Cruz. And so the exhibit is open on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 1 to 4. So.
I'm seeing How Has COVID Impacted Your Writing Process by Hi, Rebecca. Well, you know, I've been home a lot, so I've had more time to write. It's definitely in the beginning of COVID, in the beginning of the lockdown, I was stunned, like we all were, at how quickly our world changed. And so a bunch of poems came out of that. And then I got really interested in the shadow. I also felt like it's not just COVID, but a lot of things that this was a time when the shadow was really coming out in American politics and in America and in the world, and that COVID was one manifestation of that. So I started kind of tracking shadow in some of the newer stuff I was working. And then somebody asked, do you find you write more often from your truth or from a place of wanted truth? I'm not sure I understand exactly what that means. I mean, absolutely, I write from my own truth. If it's like wanted truth might be the idealism, like with some girls, there's sort of, it's sort of prophetic or calling, you know, calling on that power to come. So, but I feel like it has to be grounded in my own truth, or I don't think it would work for me. Like, I'm not Rumi. I'm not a prophet poet. I'm more of a feet on the ground poet, I think. Oh yeah, Francis says, Alison, there seems to be a lot in this collection about women. Yes, absolutely. This collection is, in fact, one of my titles, this is my friend Francis, one of my possible titles was Girls and Women. It didn't end up getting called that, but I would definitely, that was a conscious choice. I really wanted to focus on women. And as far as I'm concerned, I could keep focusing on women, I think, for the rest of my writing career. That's kind of where I have a lot of, there are men in the poems too, but yeah, it's mostly about women. Does humor come naturally to me, or do I have to work at it? It comes naturally. My father is hilarious, and I just grew up with it, and I'm Jewish. I'm sorry. It's natural. Thank you. Can you speak on coming back to poems you've abandoned? Yes. I have put poems aside for years. I have had friends rescue poems for me. There's a poem in the book called Pulling Weeds, which I had abandoned because I tried to get it published and I couldn't get it published. And a friend of mine told me that she had literally copied it down. I had read it out loud somewhere, and she had like copied it. And I asked her to send it back to me because I didn't have a copy of it anymore. I had like deleted it. So it was like she rescued it. It takes me a really long time to finish a poem. I get the body of it really quickly. Like I get the first zap of it, and then it takes a long time to get that last 10% right. Years sometimes. So I'm trying not to delete things anymore. Even if I think they suck, I'm trying to let them be, and because I'm not always the best judge.
A couple of people are asking how they could have their books signed. Catherine, is that something, or Alison, do you know the answer?
I think Catherine is coming up by my house tomorrow at some point, and at noon. Is that right?
Signed out of the event.
Or is that still happening? And I'm going to sign a bunch of books for you.
Hi. Yes. So I'm coming over tomorrow. Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm bringing you boxes of books to sign. And so if you order a book tonight, we'll be sending out signed copies. So it's not as good as having you sign them in person, but we will have some signed copies after this event for those of you who want to order tonight.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. I see somebody saying, when you're working hard, what is your process as you edit and revise? Thank you. Oh my God, my process is a mess. I have a very messy process. I am actually, what I do is I email and badger close friends with multiple drafts, which you shouldn't do because it's really annoying, but I do it. And my friends just put up with me. What you should do, this is what I do as I say, not as I do. What you should do is print the thing out, read it out loud, give it a rest. Ellen Bass told me to put it aside for at least a couple of weeks. I think she might have said a couple months before you send it out. That is very good advice, which I have a very hard time taking. I look for, I basically look for if I lied. Where did I go for the hard truth, the thing that was hard to say, and where did I like veer away from the truth, and can I bring myself back, and can I cut the fancy, cute stuff and just speak truth? And that takes a surprisingly long time to get to. It's funny how hard it is to be simple. Do you ever get stuck in your writing? Yes, all the time. What do you do? Any tips? Move away from the desk. Get away from the desk. Move away from the computer. Go for a walk. Take a shower. Water the garden.
Should I get off the screen?
Do not hurt yourself or anybody close to you. Yeah, getting stuck is part of writing. So yeah, I get stuck all the time. I actually, honestly, what I do is I play crosswords on NewYorkTimes.com acrostic. I do the double acrostic puzzles, which gives my brain a break, but it actually would be better if I got up and walked around the block, and healthier. But I find water is helpful. Mm-hmm. And then somebody said, will you read a funny poem for us? I don't know how long this is supposed to go. Shall I read a funny poem?
Well, we have about 10 more minutes, so sure. Yes, please.
Okay, I'll read The Enemy of Poetry. That's a poem for my cat, who I've exiled from the room, actually, because he wants to be in here with you, but if he were in here, he'd just walk across the keyboard. The Enemy of Poetry. The enemy of poetry is curled on my lap, purring, triumphant as Hannibal after his trek across the Alps. His name is Jackson, but sometimes we call him Donald Trump because he is orange and lacks a moral compass. A demigod in his own mind, he walks on tender spots with impunity, settling himself always in the sacred delta between belly, thigh, and notebook. Like life, he thwarts the poem while becoming the poem, lying across my forearm right this moment like a hairy coach asking, how much weight can you hoist with this thing? Asking, when are you going to get a real job? Soul imp, succubus, castaway from an anarchic planet. He attacks as prey whatever's in the way. Shoelace, fluttering curtain, moving pen, then turns back to gaze at me with topaz passion, insisting on the dominion of the unspeakable.
I love that line. Like life, he thwarts the poem while becoming the poem.
Right. He was literally lying on my arm as I was trying to write in my notebook. Like he just wants to, he's a cat, but he's really like, I don't know what, he's a barnacle. And Alison, I heard a rumor that you recently had a poem in the New York, oh no, I did not review books. True, false. Francis, I had a poem in the New York Times magazine, but it was not the New York Review of Books. I should be so lucky. Would you be willing to talk about whether you have a day job, and if so, how you navigate the dance between that and your creative life? I have a night job. I teach memoir writing at night, and I also have private clients, writing clients. So I don't think I do a great job of navigating. You kind of need time to write. I don't have a set schedule. I sneak it in. I do morning pages a lot. which is when you get up in the morning, you just write 3 pages. And then I just have sometimes these binge sessions at my computer where I type up all the scribbles. It's always a pull, I think, between your creative life and your money earning life. Don't you find that way, Zack, as well?
That's very true. I think, one thing that I work at all the time is trying to be more efficient with my creative time, so that I kind of, like a chess player, looks ahead at all the moves and tries to figure out, which is a winning strategy and which is kind of a dead end. I try to do that more with my own work now, because if I can do that, then I don't go down as many rabbit holes. I have more opportunities to finish things.
But it took, like, this book took 6 years, and my last book I think took 5 years, and my first book 10. I mean, I work for years and years and years. I get the ideas quickly, but to actually execute it, I always lie to myself at the outset and say that it's going to be easy and it's going to be quick, and it's never easy and it's never quick. It always takes 3 times longer than I think it should. So,
Well, I think we can wrap up. Do you want to answer one more question, Alison?
would you? Well, I think that was it. Somebody wrote, "Oh, I ordered mine a few days ago, so not signed." Yeah, I'm so sorry about that. I am very hopeful that, this pandemic is not going to last forever, and what I really, really hope is that next year we'll be able to meet in person. I don't know whether it be summer or fall, and there will be time. This isn't the end of the world. So at some point there will be in-person things, or Reba, what you could do is you could give away the copy that you ordered to a friend it makes Hanukkah's right around the corner, and then you could buy a signed copy, tomorrow. So that's what I got. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, thank you both so much. And the poetry readings were beautiful. I think everyone really loved it. And we're just so excited to offer this book. And someone in the chat had a suggestion that I bring you some book plates tomorrow. So I'll bring a bunch of book plates, and you can send me an email if you want me to send you the book plate if you already have a book. So that way you can get a signed book that way.
Can you say what email they should send it to?
There's an email on the website, editor@catamaranliteraryreader.com. And so feel free to contact me if you like a signature book plate for your book. And thank you so much, Alison, for reading and sharing your beautiful poetry with us all tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alison.
It's my pleasure, and thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
And I hope that when this is all over, we will have that gala.
I do too. Yeah.
And then we'll all be together again in person, signing books
Yeah.
and talking to people and sharing
Chocolate,
the love.
champagne,
Wine. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Views.
Yeah. Yeah.
So till then, let's stay in touch. And I'm glad we could at least do this to keep everyone connected and enjoying your beautiful poetry.
Thank you so much, and for all your hard work. And thank you, Zack. Zack was an awesome editor, by the way. He helped me improve many of the poems in the book, or better, because of Zack's suggestions, and it was really nice to have a real editor holding
Thank you, Alison. It was great to work with you. It's such a privilege to have this incredible book in our list of Catamaran books.
All right, well, bravo. Beautiful reading tonight. So I'm going to say goodnight to everyone, and thank you so much for coming. Bye.